2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Scott Geirman to cover a game in which the Dodgers offense explodes for 10 runs, 9 extra base hits by 7 different dudes. Another gem by Gavin Stone. Scott, this one started out with the Dodgers stranding a runner at third and giving up a leadoff double. But from about that point forward, it felt like everything went LA's way.
Yeah, just Jeff, man, we're really rolling on these Tuesdays. I've got some stats for us. I'm
hit me with it.
Just want to say, aside from the B game that we didn't stream that night, we're undefeated.
I love that.
We're undefeated. So let's just keep it rolling. Chat, I know if you're keeping tabs, just put that down somewhere. Let's keep it rocking, man. It's just been offensive explosion when we're on here.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I used to joke whenever I do Lakers Nation streams, I think I had the best record among Lakers Nation's hosts. So I'm a fan of keeping track of things like that. So shout out to the Tuesday Night Dodgers for constantly getting the job done. Gavin Stone continues to be the story. And there's so many directions we could go, Scott, because it's not often that a rookie goes 6 innings, 1 earned run, and he doesn't feel like he's the headline. But this is the 4th straight time he's done that. But 9 extra base hits for the Dodgers from 7 different players. To me, that feels like the theme of this show. 5 doubles, 3 triples, the home run. Aside from Max Muncy and Andy Pais, every single guy who saw the field tonight had an extra base hit for the Dodgers. And this is just one of those games where, yes, it was the guys at the top, but you go all the way down 1 through 6, basically 1 through 5, and it's all guys that were hitting the ball really, really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Different spots of the lineup. There's some bad luck at some different spots. Gavin Lux really making a believer out of me. You're going to hear it first.
Love it.
He's been dialed in, so it's good to see. James Outman there struggling a bit still, but to your point, stuff that it's been a continued theme. It's seeing that trickle down throughout the bottom of the order that just elevates everything else. So as long as they're able to get marginal increases in production as the season goes on, it's just going to elevate everything so much more. So there's so much to dissect here. It's good to see people finding barrels. It's good to see them punishing mistakes, something that they haven't done. Like we've seen the Dodgers in years past, they just have so much whiff in their game that when that mistake pitch is there, they're not able to do too much with it aside from big guns in the order. But it's really good to see that trickle down through the rest of it. So Gavin Lux looks confident up there. Max Muncy's just continuing to do his thing. Teoscar Hernandez is a walking barrel again. But just there's so much to like. So much.
Let's talk about Lux real quick. 3 hard hit balls tonight. He hits the triple. It's actually the 3rd hardest hit ball that he has. He has a 102-mile-an-hour lineup with an expected batting average of 550. He has a 97-mile-an-hour ground out with an expected batting average of 560. I mean, this was nearly a 3-hit game for Gavin Lux. He makes a great defensive play on a double play ball that Gavin Stone kind of bounces to him back at second base. But you kind of hinted at it. I had a stat here. This was from Dodgers Insider. Since April 24th, Gavin Lux is hitting 293. That was before kind of coming into this game. So we know the defense has been elite. It feels like that's an accepted piece here. But, I mean, you kind of touched on this. You danced around it. I mean, are you buying Gavin Lux, the offensive guy, as a year off the knee injury, that maybe he's found something here?
So what I know you always say I do this, but I like to highlight a part of his game that hasn't slumped, which has been terrific. It's been his defense at second base. It's something that when they made the shift, he kept it up and he kept improving there. And that just shows a part of his game that's not taking a dip, and it just has kept getting better. And, we've been big on that. Gavin Lux is likely a lot of it, like a lot of baseball players are, a mentally based guy. I think Gavin Lux there, as long as he's kept that baseline, he's kept continuing to work hard at that, the rest is going to come if it does. So to your point, I'm buying what Gavin Lux is putting out, because his barrel rate was so bad. It's like, sure, we can dunk on him. We can come on here and say he's playing terribly, and people can say, it's early, but it's okay to say that Gavin Lux was struggling, but he's continued to work on these things. He's continued to have these good at-bats. He's been getting hosed by these horrible umpires this year. And I know I saw a stat that Lars Nootbaar was getting the worst of it, but it felt to me, I was like, Gavin Lux just is getting demolished. It has to be up there. But he's continued to work and he's continued to put good at bats together. And he's doing what we talked about. He's punishing mistakes. He should have had another hit tonight. He's barreling it up. It's really good to see him, showcase his athleticism there, and that his knee feels good. He had a triple tonight. So it's he's putting it all out there. It's terrific. But I'm pleasantly surprised that he's continued to elevate his offense by keeping the defense right where we definitely need it to be. Because just think, Jeff, if they put him at second base and he's a subpar defender, would we be having the same conversation if he was no? Yeah, not at all. So I am buying Gavin Lux. Chat, I know, like, anybody turn the corner. We see it. Yeah, gritty Scott. I'm here, man. Like, this is my first own up of the season. Like, Gavin Lux is working it, man.
Yeah. And that's the thing is the defense has become such a key part because it's taken the pressure off. Like, if Gavin Lux is as bad defensively as a lot of people thought he might be after what we saw in spring training, the offense was going to have to be like a 115, 120 weighted runs created plus in order to justify what we saw defensively. But because the defense has flipped to the point where, depending on what stat you look at, he's like one of the 4 or 5 best defensive second basemen in baseball by defensive runs saved. And so now all of a sudden that weighted runs created plus, like we were joking in the chat, I'm like, it kind of just needs to be like 100, 105, because if the defense is elite and the offense is average at a position, which I think the league average is like 93 weighted runs created plus among second basemen. So he gives you value there. But just looking at his profile, you mentioned he's not hitting the ball hard. If you want to go to his Savant page, it's a lot of dark blue in the hard hit exit velocity type categories. But what's nice about him is he's 96th percentile in chase rate, 67th percentile in whiff rate, and 50th percentile in walk rate. What I'm getting at is he has 3 hard hit balls tonight. So if he just starts to barrel some of this and starts to get the average exit velocity up a tick while not losing sort of elite eye right now, 96th percentile chase rate, not whiffing, able to draw a walk, that's the offensive profile for a guy that you start to believe in when paired with elite defense at second base.
I agree with you. Great point, Sarah. So I know a lot of people agree with this, and the peripherals that you laid out, chase rate is through the roof. Whiff rate is climbing up there. K rate, all you have to do is avoid being a black hole at the bottom of the order. And something that when I was high on Gavin Lux, I was really hoping that he would just be a linchpin there and flip the lineup over. There's still a lot I'd like to see some more, but there is data out there to show that if he continues to not chase pitches and works at bats, there's a lot there. There's a lot to say that Gavin Lux, some things can click right. And you can see those things, just like you said, stuff that people don't know in the dark blue on Baseball Savant. That's bad. You want things to all be red. You want
Dodger blue is bad on the Savant page.
On the Savant page, you want things to trend in the right direction there. So I'm buying his turnaround that it can be a thing, that it can be coming, because having an insanely high chase rate shows that his zone awareness is there. He's just not putting it together consistently there. But there are signs recently that he's trending up and big time. But I'm just so happy with the defense, man. As long as you're not a detriment there, his outs above average is still in the plus. He looks terrific. He's making highlight plays. He just looks so smooth, and that just speaks to the health of his knee.
Yeah, I love to see it. Well, let's shift from the offense. We want to say thank you to the people joining us live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. Over 1,000 people in here on a Tuesday night. Thank you, as always. You know how much we appreciate you joining us. Sometimes it's a group therapy session. Tonight it's a fiesta as the Dodgers win 10-2. But let's talk about the guy that was on the mound, Gavin Stone. He goes 6 innings with 1 or fewer earned runs. Well, I guess he's had exactly one in 4 straight, 6+ innings, 1 earned run in 4 consecutive starts. We know what it looked like last year, Scott. We know what it looked like even at the beginning of this year. But this is a guy, I keep saying, he has the prospect pedigree. There's a reason he was a top 50 prospect in baseball like 15 months ago. People believed in the fastball changeup combo. They talked about on the broadcast the slider kind of breaking ball cutter combo that he's been able to include in there as well. What have you seen from Gavin Stone, and what do you like most about a guy who, again, 4 consecutive quality starts for the Dodgers?
I just like that he's not getting the Ks, but I know you mentioned it on Twitter that he's missing bats and missing barrels. So he's avoiding that big swing, and he's able to work around stuff. He's not letting it, letting the snowball effect happen, which is what we've seen with a lot of young pitchers. He's allowing the ball to be hit and play, but it's not hard. So I'm pleasantly surprised with what I've seen in his development of adding. If people paid attention, which it's hard when you're so down on a player to really take note of the things that they're improving on. Right. Because everybody sees stuff, shock value happens and you're like, oh, okay, he sucks. Like, get him out of here. He doesn't produce. He's not a Cy Young guy right away. And it's not the casual fan. It's just when someone comes up and they're not, performing to what you'd expect to the hype, then they're just completely written off. But there's a reason why, too, what you said, the prospect pedigree, he's showing the ability to get it, now that he's in the organization, he's been here for some years now. He's continued to build. He's added 2 quality pitches. And what he's done with those is he's missing bats. Like his changeup's allowing an expected batting average of, $184. He's coming out and just doing everything that you need to do as a middle of the rotation arm. And he's just been terrific. I've had a billion tabs open up here to really talk about how good this Dodgers staff has been, not only on recently, but on the year. Like they're approaching territory where they're top 5 in reliever, top 5 in starters. And we're talking about a rotation that's had Landon Knack, Gavin Stone, and guys who have just, nothing but upside. So it's like they're cooking. So it's like the more you look into it, they are absolutely cooking. 44 innings pitched for Gavin Stone, 3rd on the staff. So he's stepped into a role, and coming into spring training, I spoke with another buddy of mine. You don't just get lucked into a spot in the Dodgers like the starting rotation. You earn it, and he's damn earned it, and he's pitched to it. 3.27 ERA in the year. I don't care if you're striking guys out as long as you're missing bats. Sure, you want those numbers, but that's, a lot of those, like Corbin Burns, I always hammer the overs on strikeouts. Those don't hit. So it's like the guys you expect, you want them to strike a ton of guys out. As long as you're limiting the damage, limiting the big hit, that's as much as you can ask for out of them. There's still some stuff I'd like to see as far as like lowering, the walk rate a bit, but he's able to work out of it. So we're going to take it for what it is. And he's just improved all around.
8 innings to start the season, 8 earned runs for Gavin Stone. Since then, he has allowed 8 earned runs in his last 5 starts. So good stuff there. I do want to just piggyback on that real quick because, this is a comp that probably isn't going to get a ton of people fired up. But who Gavin Stone reminds me of right now is Tony Gonsolin early on. Because what Gonsolin did and what people didn't, the people that were doubters of Tony Gonsolin, and yes, they're changeup pitchers, so there's similarities there. But the people that were kind of skeptical of Gonsolin, which I'm not saying they're wrong, was, I get that like he's limiting hard contact. I get that the ERA numbers look pretty good, but whiff rate, that sort of strikeout rate, that's what's sustainable. And so I'm just curious from you. Stone is 25. He's only made 12 starts in his career. So I'm not saying like we've seen the finished product on Gavin Stone and this is who he's going to be forever. I'm just curious, like when you look at a guy who limits hard contact, stays off of barrels, stays off of hard hit rates, has a low exit velocity that's in the 83rd, 86th percentile. Like, is that sustainable in your mind for some guys?
Repeat the question real quick. Sorry, I was looking at you. What's sustainable is like how he's currently performing, like not striking guys out.
No strikeouts, but low quality of contact. Is that a sustainable recipe?
I think it's sustainable for him. I would say like he could do exactly what he's doing right now and be fine. But I think the fact that he went into the back half of last year and developed 2+ pitches, I would say they're plus. I don't care what anybody says. The fact that you can come out here and you can really expand on a cutter and a sinker and make it quality. We're talking plus territory here because he's continued to get better with it. The fact that he's added stuff to help his East and West game to hitters, an ability to get lefties and righties out. That just speaks to what he's developing into. And I think that whiff will come because his changeup, his primary pitch, has continued to stay that number one option. So the more he works on those secondary pitches, it's just hilarious because you don't see many changeup first guys, but the more he works on that secondary stuff and you see his percentages start to, just like you see guys like Yamamoto, they use everything. The more you see that happen, I think the whiff will come. And I think, yes, like if he stays this way and he'll be able to miss barrels. Absolutely. So but I do think there will be a little bit more whiff. He's still learning how to use, go up there and use 4-5 quality pitches.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And again, let me say two things because I see some people in the chat aren't happy about the Gonsolin comp. One is I'm probably the high guy on Tony Gonsolin, so that's less of an insult coming from me than it might feel like for other people.
Catboy.
What's that?
I'm not a big Catboy guy. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and again, so I'm saying I'm higher on him, and B, I want to emphasize,
okay.
12 starts in, I'm not expecting that Stone is going to stay here. I think the point I'm making is like what we're seeing from Gavin Stone is good. And I think the optimistic piece of this, if you're the Dodgers, is there's still a level up that this guy can go. If he's able to tap into the swing and miss, if he's able to tap in to that kind of thing, because even last year when he was struggling, the chase rate was 34% and the whiff rate was 31%. And those were both dark red numbers on Baseball Savant. This year, it's 31% chase rate, 25% whiff rate. So both those numbers have come down significantly. Part of that is pitch mix. We've had guys like Michael Grove come on here and talk about pitching. And one of the things he says about a sinker is a pitch that is not designed to miss bats. A sinker is a pitch that's designed to get off of a barrel. A cutter is a pitch that's not designed to miss bats. It's designed to get off a barrel. So part of this is by design. But what I think is beautiful about Stone is as he gets the sinker, as he gets the cutter dialed in, gets more confident, then the changeup that is disgusting is going to be the swing and miss pitch. And right now he's dialing the changeup back because he wants to be in the zone and it's working. If he gets to a point where he can do all that and level up the changeup and get that fastball touching 97 up above the zone, like that's where you're going to see the next level up. And again, I'm the high guy on Gavin Stone. I've got my rookie of the year bobblehead Gavin Stone, which is sort of a joke because that was given to me. But like I like Gavin Stone, and so I'm buying stock on Gavin Stone. I think what we're seeing from a total box score perspective is sustainable. I just think the way he's going to get there, Scott, is probably going to change over the coming months.
Yeah, no, it's just this is the maturation of a young pitcher, and it's really cool to see it in real time. And there's actual stuff behind it and development of pitches at the big league level, and him earning a spot and grabbing a hold of it and saying, shit, this is mine. So it's cool stuff. It's nice to see that he's expanded. Like 2023, he had barrel rate, he was allowing like 8.7% barrels. This year, 5.9. So he's doing all the things. He's slowly rising, not even slowly. He's done it. So it's like he's going to continuously get better there. To your point, I love what you said about, sinkers and cutters. I'm big time on that. I think I said the other day to you guys that I think Walker Buehler needs to become a little bit of that. And then because he can get the whiff elsewhere. I just think that, if you develop a quality sinker and cutter, he's already got a cutter. Like if he develops a quality sinker, it's limitless. That's why guys like Blake Trinan are so ridiculous. They're gross because they just miss bats. They just miss the barrel of the bat, at such a high rate. That's why you're successful. So that's kind of where it's trending. And I'm really excited about Gavin Stone, man. Like this is a good start. I was really looking forward to it today.
Yeah, I mean, and you talked about, I love what you said. Like, you don't just get handed a spot in the Dodgers rotation. Landon Knack came up and pitched really, really well. And the Dodgers' response to that was, hey, Gavin Stone, here's a real number. Like not only is this guy behind you pitching well, but they said, we're so confident in what you're doing that you don't have to wear 72 or whatever.
71, man. 71.
Yeah.
How do we feel? Okay, we got to ask, and then we'll read the chat for a sec to see what everybody's at. Anybody have a big problem with Gavin Stone wearing 35? I just want to see. I really just want to see.
Do you? I mean, give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on this, Scott.
As long as he performs well, it's fine. But I don't want to see anybody. Like I saw some trolls being like, "Yeah, finally a real 35." I just want to tell people to shush.
Yeah,
I have no problem with it. I have no problem. Cody Bellinger, we know what he did. Love him, but Lance Lynn, shut up, Blake. Nerd, love you, man.
That guy loves Lance Lynn. Blake wanted to retire Lance Lynn's jersey at the end of last season, so makes sense that he'd be a little weird about it. I mean, at what point, there's a reason they have retired jerseys and they don't have retired jerseys, and so there's other numbers like Corey Seager's number or guys like that.
It's just fun. It's just fun. I know I see somebody who cares. It's just fun. It's just fun to talk about it. It's just hard. You see it out there and you're like, man, 35. It's one of the great ones worth 35.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. 35, go for it. Knock yourself out, so yeah. I mean, anyways. Good stuff. Well, let's talk offense. Let's go through a game recap. Again, we want to say thank you to everybody that's joining us. The Dodgers win 10-2 in this one. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined again by Scott Geirman. And I mentioned from the get-go, first inning, Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani go quietly. Freddie Freeman hits a ball to the gap that bounces off the center fielder's glove. All of a sudden, they got a runner on third base, and you think, all right, here we go, cooking with gas. And they can't cash anything in. Gavin Stone comes out for the bottom of the first, immediately gives a double to Yastrzemski, who's hitting like a $199, was 0 for his last 17. And I don't know about you, Scott, but I'm sitting there thinking this is just how this is going to go, right? Like we're going to get the error that's just a tease, and then we don't cash it in. And then Yastrzemski turns into like looking like a real major leaguer again just because he's playing the Dodgers. But sure enough, in Gavin Stone, ground out. We're talking about soft contact. He gets 3 of them in a row. Both teams get through the first 2 innings, first 3 innings without runs. But then the fourth happened, Scott. And our guy Wynn grooved. If there's a word that's a step up from grooving a fastball to Shohei Ohtani, he grooved it. Ohtani hit a ball 446 feet. It's the longest home run that's been hit in this park in 2 years. I tweeted
territory.
this. I have literally never seen a baseball hit to where he hit it, Scott. Like dead right center field and was about 10 feet short of the water. I've seen balls go in the water like hugging the pole. This ball was over the 415 mark and up on the concourse. I don't have words. Mere mortals don't hit balls where Shohei Ohtani hit that ball.
Barry Bonds territory, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's just he swings so hard every time. I'm just like, God damn, man. Like this, it's he hits line drives, and I'm like, I don't think there's anybody I see in the league that really does that for me anymore because it feels like we've seen it all. But it's when you watch Shohei Ohtani hit a single, I just sit there and go, man, if he put that ball a little bit in the air, that's a line drive homer. And it's just remarkable stuff. I've never seen somebody hit the ball as flush as he does. So it's 109 4 tonight, 113 4. Dude's just insane. Yeah. We could do this every night.
Totally. And that's the thing is it's not like he got one cleanly like once tonight, or once a week. It was twice tonight, know, and it was like, this is just what he does. He had 100.8 mile an hour ground out. So he had 3 balls over 100 miles an hour tonight for Ohtani. He's wild. But the Dodgers kept it going. They hit the home run. Freeman walks, Smith walks. I like the way the broadcast described it, that when you groove a ball like that to Shohei Ohtani, you're just terrified to throw strikes because you're looking at Freddie Freeman and Will Smith and just assuming if I put a fastball anywhere near the zone, it's going to get crushed. Well, he walks the next 2 guys. The pitching coach comes out, tells him to calm down. So what does he do? He grooves the fastball to Teoscar Hernandez, who doubles in a run. Max Muncy sacrifice fly. Gavin Lux, a triple later in the inning. All of a sudden, it's 4-0. And this is just one of those, like, you just go through the lineup. Like Freeman walk, Smith walk, Teoscar double, Muncy sac fly, Pages K, Lux triple. And all of a sudden, it's 4-0. The Dodgers tack on another run on a Will Smith RBI single in the 5th. Giants get theirs back in the bottom, but then Ohtani puts them right back up by 5, 6-1 in the 7th. And then the 9th was just like laughable. Joe Davis said it looked like batting practice. He was right. Double by Outman, double by Rojas, ground out from Ohtani, single from Freeman, Smith double, Teoscar triple. So just think about that. In a 6-batter stretch, you had 3 doubles and a triple and a single. Like insane stuff. 5 extra base hits in a 6-batter stretch. All of a sudden it's 10-1. And that was all she wrote. You could stop taking notes for the post-game show at that point, Scott, because it's just offense.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I just kept seeing offense and those, runaway balls. I was like, man, there's no need to take notes tonight. It's just, it looked like another just offensive onslaught there. Once you see outfielders looking a little silly, I think the ball doinked off, I think Matos's dome. Like, I think I just kind of went back to barbecuing at that point. It's just, it's just an insane ballpark. Dimensions are so wild. Every time like a ball game is played at Oracle, I really don't know what to think. And if you hit it into Triples Alley with a team like this, we've got multiple guys. You've got Mookie out, Ohtani, Freddie can get it if he wants to. So it's fun stuff. I really don't know how they play. 81 games in that stadium. So just weird to me. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Weird. We've got a super chat here from William. He said, Jeff, what do you think is the difference between Gavin Lux last year versus this year? And I think part of it is kind of what we're talking about. If you want to just talk pitch mix really quick, in 2023, last year when he came up again, 8 appearances, 4 of those starts, he gets crushed, an ERA of 9, a whip of nearly 2. He threw 34% changeup, 28% four-seam fastball. So 62% of the time, you're getting either a changeup or a four-seam fastball. This year, he comes up, the changeup usage is way down. It goes from 34% to 28%. The fastball is down to 23%. The sinker is way up to 23%. So now all of a sudden, and they mentioned this on the broadcast, he's got 5 pitches that he's throwing at least 10% of the time. And he's got 3 pitches that he's throwing 23% of the time or more. So I think it just leaves more doubt in the mind of the hitters, for one. And then secondly, it's just the sinker cutter combo where maybe last year he felt like he needed to strike everybody out and miss every bat. And Mark Pryor got in his head a little bit and said, just let the sinker do its work. Let the cutter do its work. Let these guys hit the ball. Don't be afraid of contact because they're not going to get it. I mean, that's what I'm seeing, Scott, as the eye test. Shout out to our guy, Matt Moreno, but also looking at the nerd stuff here on Baseball Savant and just seeing the way that he's mixed up his pitches. Like, is that how you would kind of summarize what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. What we talked about earlier, like his mix is so advanced now, and being able to go east and west is such a plus for him. And it plays because, his sinker's got a good bit of dip. It's allowed his changeup to play up because it's his primary thing. He came up and everybody's like, oh, he's got just such an 80 grade changeup. And it got hit 45% of the time last year. Yeah. And right now it's a tick under 21 or 22, 21.9. So if you're looking at that, it's just what he's been able to do to that degree. That just shows, how they have him working on the mound there. He's able to work east and west. He doesn't have to rely so heavily on just pure four-seam fastball changeup, because then if he's not landing, I know I saw somebody in chat say command. I totally agree there. Coming up there and being able to throw strikes with your secondary stuff and not just saying, I'm behind in the count. They're not chasing my changeup out of the zone. Now they can just sit fastball. And when I do toss that, if I have a feel for my changeup, I have to throw it in the zone. That leads to hard hit, or if, they're able to track it well. So it just shows exactly what he's been able to do with that 5-pitch mix. And he's truly got it working here. I'm not so sure on his curveball, but sinker, cutter, it's just completely elevating his changeup.
Yeah. And looking at some of the year over year stuff, his zone percentage, he's in the zone a tick more. So 44.7% in the zone last year. That's up to 47.4. First pitch strike, he's throwing about 3% more first pitch strikes, which I think helps. So those numbers aren't like as dramatic as maybe I would have guessed before looking. I'd say, well, maybe he's just throwing a lot more strikes. He's throwing a few more strikes. He's in the zone a little bit more, but I think it's just the variety and it's the quality of contact. You mentioned it. The barrel rate goes from 8.7% last year to 5.9%. The exit velocity last year, 88.5 down to 86.8. When you see that sort of dramatic difference, I think it makes a difference. The fastball velocity up a mile an hour probably doesn't hurt, 93.2 to 94.4. So I think you just kind of throw all this stuff in a pot, and that's what comes out the other side is what we're seeing from Gavin Stone, which is a little bit more strikes, a little bit better stuff, a little bit more pitch variety, and the results are significant. Because I would say, Scott, like as bad as he was last year, I wouldn't say the 9 ERA was like representative. I felt like there was a little bit of, he wasn't awesome, but he wasn't like 9.0 ERA guy either, in my estimation.
No, I totally agree. Like it's too critical of, a rookie pitcher there. It's just the Dodgers even knew there's more in the tank there. And I'm sure I bet they're glad that they didn't, they're never going to sell low on a guy. That's just not how they're going to do it. It's not in the Dodgers stuff, but it just, the projectability of what he had in the tank is showing itself right now. And he's a very strong middle of the rotation arm. And watch out when Bobby Miller comes back. So, he's a little bit, he's at a point where, are you trusting Gavin Stone in some spots? I am. Like he's showing, he might not have the ability to blow it by you, but he's got a pitch mix that he looks very comfortable using. And he's not like shying away from any of that, in any spot. Like I'm sure if you looked at like his put away percentage, it's all like he's got 4 pitches here. He's throwing in put away spots above 15% of the time, around 15% of the time, some more. So he's just continuing to earn it. and keep that spot there. And he's got a stranglehold. He's not going anywhere.
Well, and look, if you're a young pitcher, what's the number one thing you can do to earn trust from your manager is go deep into games. And we just mentioned,
Yeah.
I mean, like, because their biggest fear with putting Gavin Stone on the mound at the beginning of this year was, holy crap, we need this guy to get us at least to the fifth so that we don't just destroy our bullpen. And yet, what has he done? We mentioned it, fourth straight start with 6 or more innings. How about this stat, Scott? Those are 2 words hard to say next to each other. How about this stat, Scott? 9 of their last 12 games, the Dodgers have gotten 6 or more innings pitched from their starter.
Just helps out a depleted bullpen, man. That just does so much.
That's like a 1999 stat right there for you from the Dodgers starters. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And oh, by the way, speaking of pitching, how about the Dodgers holding their opponent to 4 or fewer runs for the 21st consecutive time? They're 17-4 over that stretch. They're creeping up on the record here. And look, Glasnow on the mound, bullpen game tomorrow, then Glasnow on the mound. So if you can get through the bullpen game, which coming into tonight, the bullpen had a sub-1 ERA over their last 20 games. This was from the broadcast. It was the best 20-game stretch of a Dodgers bullpen since Eric Gagne was pitching for the team. So 20-plus years ago.
Wow.
But I mean, just the way this group, you've got everything clicking. You've got back of like number 12 relievers that have stepped up and have been performing. You've got Gavin Stone, guys giving you length. You've got just every piece of the Dodgers pitching feels like comes together. And look, if you allow 4 runs or fewer in 21 straight, I would predict 17 wins for the Dodgers. Like they're going to score more than 14 in 17 of 21 games. So that combo for this team, Scott, they're 29-15, 17-4 in their last 21. Padres lost again tonight, 7.5 game lead. Our guy Daniel Starkin on the show this morning, talking about how every division in Major League Baseball is within like a game or a game and a half, except for the National League West, where the Dodgers have a 7.5 game lead now. So I don't know. I don't even like, my mind does not have a category, Scott, to comprehend 4 runs or fewer in 21 straight from a team that has dealt with the injuries the Dodgers have dealt with.
I've got to go look. Was I at the last game? Was that a Glasnow start?
The last
time they allowed 4, like more than 4.
Oh man, well don't do
I'm
that.
Not going to a game.
You were just talking about how good of luck we are. This would be bad news if you were at the last.
If I was there and it's a Monday game against the Nats.
No, you're good. No, you're right. It was Monday against the Nats. No. Sorry, we went back too far. Okay. It's been since then. It was Saturday, April 20th against the Mets.
We're good.
That Monday was 4 or 5 before, so you're all right.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, it's putting it all together. It's coming at a perfect time. And I'm surprised nobody in chat's getting on me about my C grade for the bullpen, but it has nothing to do with their performance. That's it. It's just health. Yeah. It's just health. That's all. It's all it is. But the drama, Jeff and Scott. Yeah, it has everything to do with just the fact that they're just so deep into that depth there. And hopefully, like we saw Chris Matt tonight, like God forbid they have a lead that's in there. So it just shows like the starting pitching, if you're able to go deep, it just provides so many options for the rest of your staff. You're able to not have to push guys too much or go back to back. You're able to deploy Alex Vesia and not back-to-back days. He looks great. Daniel Hudson. They're just clicking in all the right areas to make themselves look like a team that just is going to contend. And look at exactly what they're doing right now. Such an insane division lead at this point of the season. They're able to not to go on autopilot, but they're able to really work around their roster and give guys days off and spots and late game, just like tonight. You're able to get Mookie off of his feet. And you're able to do some things that really are for the overall health of your staff. It's just fun time. Time.
Look, I've joked on here. The way to make this group of relievers look good is exactly what the Dodgers are doing. Get 6 innings from your starting pitcher every single freaking day. Because when Gus Garland only has to pitch once every 3 days, he's going to be the best version of himself. JP Feyereisen's going to be the best version of himself. Nabil Crismat's going to be the best version of himself. So when the Dodgers starters, 9 out of their last 12 games, 6+ innings, some of those have been longer than 6, 7, 8 innings pitched. I mean, that's how you make these guys look. But I'm looking at this now, Scott. Feyereisen, Varland, and Crismat. This is a play straight out of Scott Geirman's playbook right here.
all my super buy low candidates. I know I was just like, this is everybody, and they're like, why do you like this guy? It's just they're on the roster. They're a very like not a meme worthy name, but it's just reclamation projects there. Love JP, love exactly what he's doing since he's been up. He's been dialed in. We haven't even had a chance to talk about him. Hopefully I'm able to talk to him soon. I'm gonna reach out and see if we can get him on, man. So it's just this is exactly what you want. Don't have to dip too far into your bullpen on nights like this. Just let them coast. This is good stuff here. So on a bullpen that has a lot of age. We talked about it, I think, last week. A bullpen that has so many veteran arms. You don't want to push them or this early in the season. And the fact that you're just getting this much depth from your starting pitching, that just helps it all down. We're talking, this is all trickle down. This lineup right now and this pitching staff is all like helping themselves through the trickle down.
Yeah, Aaron with a quick comment here. Are we going to talk about the Astros or the asterisk tonight? Astros pitcher removed for some sticky stuff. Do you have any thoughts, Scott?
Nah, whatever. Ronel Blanco, he's a good story. Hopefully it's nothing crazy. Like, I don't know.
I was giving you a chance to redeem yourself from all the Carlos Correa stuff right here, Scott. You're not helping yourself with the he's
you want me to just do this? All right. Typical Astros. Typical Astros.
I was just trying to put that on a tee for you. I was just trying to put that on a tee. I do love that it's the Astros. Like I couldn't care about some other guy, but it makes me happy that it's the Astros that get busted for stuff like that.
Couldn't happen to a more reputable franchise.
Exactly. All right, let's get into some other updates from around sort of Dodgers land. We got some injury updates today, Scott. Some good news on this front. Again, we appreciate everybody watching. We're over 1,600 people on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Thank you. Bobby Miller is at the Dodgers complex in Arizona, scheduled to throw 2 simulated innings to hitters on Wednesday. Evan Phillips here with the team will throw a bullpen session. Jason Heyward is getting out on a rehab assignment. Let's start with Bobby Miller. This is the most significant name. From my perspective, Scott, the good news is that the Dodgers told us what they typically tell us. Hey, we're not that concerned. It's precautionary, et cetera, et cetera. The way that this injury has sort of been fleshed out over the last couple of weeks reflects that they were actually maybe telling us the truth, that this wasn't serious. They were just trying to play it safe. The fact that he is as quickly as he is already throwing, it's going to be a short rehab, all that kind of thing. So give me your thoughts on the news that Bobby Miller could be back in the next couple of weeks. It seems like, depending on how rehab assignments go.
All good news. We joke all the time that we get nothing but absolute truth from Dave Roberts, right, Jeff? We get nothing but the clear facts about, every single injury. But this on Bobby, anytime you hear stuff with a young pitcher, especially with how high velocity guys have been this season, it's very volatile stuff there. It would be really unfortunate for the league, the Dodgers and Bobby Miller, especially with where he's kind of risen into with his own, like his development himself. It would have been very unfortunate for Bobby to be down for an extended period of time, and them just continuously showing that he's healthy, he's on a good track here, and there haven't been any hiccups. Let's knock on wood, everybody. They're continuing on a good spot for him, so I'm very pleased about it. You can never have too many arms there, and I just hope there's no hiccups there. Let's get him back, ease it in, and to what's going on with the staff. Hopefully the bullpen is rested on a day that he's there, just in case they just want to limit him to something. You know what I mean?
I mean, tomorrow's a bullpen game. Dave Roberts kind of quoted as saying, this is a no-brainer to us. We're going bullpen game. We're playing the long game. We're not trying to rush. We want to give all these guys extra days of rest. I think the natural question is, when Bobby Miller comes back, do they just truly finally go to a 6-man rotation? Obviously, that costs them an arm in the bullpen if you're trying to keep Stone and Miller and Paxton and Buehler and Glasnow and Yamamoto all in the rotation. But it's hard for me, at least, to envision them doing anything else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it could be the time. It would be the perfect time, honestly, for exactly that. You're able to deploy Ryan Yarbrough in those games. You really want to have give a built-in day off, and you kind of want to push everybody back. And I think the entire rotation right now is built for that. There's nobody that's really on a strict schedule. besides maybe Glass now, but then even then, I know you've talked about it a good bit. You don't really want to see him at the top of leaderboards and innings pitched, but he's already out to a little bit of a start. But anytime you can push guys back a tiny bit, maybe give them an extra day off. It's not throwing them off too much. And Yamamoto, Bueller, Paxton, Glasnow, Stone, like these guys all could use it. So I think that if there was ever a time, it'd be now. And it just puts Ryan Yarbrough in a spot where you don't have to consider him for a 6-man in the rotation spot. You can truly deploy him in a role where it's just like, yeah, you want to just go eat up innings, give me 4 innings in a blowout game, or you're behind, whichever. So they're built for this exact type of spot.
Yeah. The other injury updates, Evan Phillips starting some progression there, which we just talked about how good the bullpen has been. And it's easy to forget that they've spent the last week or so without their best reliever, the shutdown guy at the end of things. Jason Heyward had 3 at-bats down in Oklahoma City today. Not, again, it's spring training, rehab assignment type stuff. So we're not really too concerned about results, but both of those guys seem like they're trending in the right direction. So with the team playing as well as they are, and to be getting positive injury updates behind it, it just like you're almost waiting for the shoe to drop. It's like, wait a minute, there are too many things going positively for the Dodgers right now. And so when Heyward comes back, the expectation seems to be that James Outman's going to be the odd man out. Bullpen, a little bit less of a dialogue, whether it's Chris Matt or whether it's Varland or whoever the guy is, that's going to be less of a conversation. I think the Heyward Outman transition will be made easier with how Outman has looked, although he had, walked, couple stolen bases, double today, but that just feels like the natural. It doesn't even feel like it's going to be controversial at this point. Do you agree?
I agree. Yeah, no, it's just, there's no, big spot. Like there are a couple guys, like they can maneuver some roster spots there, whether it's, on the bench, whether it's guys that need to get a breather in AAA. We haven't talked about that. Don't need to. We'll leave it for a different thing. We could get into it, but there's, a couple guys that, would clear waivers. Like we've seen Chris Matt clear waivers already and keep him within the organization. So there's a lot of maneuverability there. I feel like they'll have enough, when Bobby Miller gets healthy, and they'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, we did have a super chat here from Luis. I can still see this team getting swept in a playoff series. You got to love that. You got to love Dodger fans. They've won 17 of their last 21. They have the largest divisional lead of any team in Major League.
You can leave that there.
What's that?
You can put that back up. I got it. You can put it back up. Luis, talk to me, man. Where are you at? Let's chat. You want to chat, Luis? I could see any team getting swept in the playoffs. I could see any team losing 3-1 in the first round. I can see it all day, every time. The Braves lost 3-1 last year's playoffs. Dodgers got swept last year's playoffs. The Orioles were on a roll. They got swept last year's playoffs. The Astros were playing great ball, and they beat the Twins, who won the division. So it's just, what are you talking about? Sure, I can see anyone getting swept in the playoffs. That's just ball. Like I can see the Phillies getting swept if their starting rotation just doesn't have it. What are we talking about here? Like, sure, it's whatever. Thanks for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. But it's just, it can happen. Yeah. Teams get cold. You want to just get hot right before the postseason and roll. So let's just hope right now they keep this going. They find a clean bill of health with their bullpen. Starting rotations able to stay on a really solid run. Offense, hopefully they're going in hot, because if they don't, then we're going to be on here with 5,000 in chat, 5,000 going crazy, and I'm going to be sitting here saying 55. What are we doing again? So I don't see it though. But it can happen to anybody. Thanks for the $2, Luis. Appreciate it.
No, I mean that's the thing is, like, if anything, you should be watching this team believing that the things that you would be most terrified of in a playoff series, i.e. they're overly reliant on 1 or 2 guys. They don't have depth in the starting rotation. They don't have depth in the bullpen. Like, those would be the things you're concerned about. The Dodgers right now are not even they're like 60% healthy from a rotation perspective. They're like 60% healthy from a bullpen perspective. And their lineup is like 6 to 8 deep on any given day. So to the point that you're making, I've said before that Major League playoffs are stupid. The best team doesn't win the World Series in Major League Baseball, basically ever. It's a rare occurrence. It's like the stats are, I believe the best team in baseball has a 30% chance of winning the World Series. So yeah, it's easy to be the guy that says, oh, this team sucks, they lost in the playoffs, when 70% of the time that's what happens. Like, I don't understand the people that get joy out of pointing that out. But it just is ironic to me to say that on a night like tonight, when they just scored 10 runs, when the lineup is firing on all cylinders, when their number 6 starting pitcher threw 6 innings of 1-run ball on the road, and when the bullpen has a sub-1 ERA, the greatest stretch, 20-game stretch in Dodgers bullpen in 20 years. And that's what we decided to talk about tonight is
all good. It's all good, Luis.
Um,
Like, I get it. Like, people want to see the blowouts, but people also want to see them win tough games. Like, we also want to see them execute the small things. Like, I totally understand. It's things they haven't done in, like, last year they didn't do. Grind out games when push comes to shove. Are you really going to scratch a run across, not rely on the long ball? Are you going to get the single, move guys over? We Dodger fans, us people who observe the Dodgers for the last few years, been frustrated. I totally understand. It's okay to have question marks and doubt the regular season. But it's also a precursor for what their capabilities are. So that's also another reason why, like, I remember what we talked about, I think last year was it might have been 2 years ago. They had so many blowout wins. I was kind of irked by it just for the fact that it was like, are they ever going to be kind of pressed? Are they just making it too easy and have too many blowout games that it's just what's going to happen when they're in a 1-1 ball game or down 2-0 in the playoffs and, you're facing Zach Wheeler? What are you going to do? Are you going to scratch runs across, make it difficult? But we've seen them grind. So I can't say that's not going to happen, or I can't say that right now all the stuff can just, they're going to do it because they blew out the Giants on May 14th. I can't. But what I can say is that they're showing enough where I'm saying that they're not being overpowered by lefties like they have in years past. There are guys on the roster that are having these moments. Kike Hernandez off the bench having a moment. Like, it's just, they're showing me enough right now where I'm not completely ruling out that any situation from playing behind or a tough spot is going to really like overpower them. So that's all I got. Thanks, Luis. Appreciate it.
I marveled at the negativity when the Dodgers were 1 game above 500 in April. So the idea that we're still going to be negative 21 games later when they've won 17 of 21 is, again, you might be right, but like, cool. Congrats on maybe being right because math is on your side. Dan Duran with a bigger super chat with a more positive message. We will prevail, Scott. We will prevail. I was thinking to myself as I watched this team, and it's kind of the point that I just made. There's no such thing as a perfect baseball team. There's nothing you can do to guarantee yourself success in the postseason. It seems like historically, the things that you want are depth everywhere. You don't want to be reliant on 1 or 2 starters. You don't want to be reliant on 1 or 2 relievers, and you don't want to be reliant on 1 or 2 hitters. It seems like the thing that I am most encouraged by, Scott, is that the thing that gives me most hope that Dan's "we will prevail" is correct is exactly that. In a postseason series, if Mookie Betts struggles like he did last year, the odds that Mookie and Ohtani and Freddie and Will and Teoscar and Muncy are all going to struggle seems low. The idea that the Dodgers are going to get to the postseason with the 8 starting pitchers that they have in the organization, if you want to include guys like Clayton Kershaw and Dustin May, who aren't back yet, but who might be, that they can't find 3 or 4 of those guys who are dramatically better than Lance Lynn, who they threw in a postseason game last year, seems unlikely. The bullpen, with the depth of guys that they have and the way they're finding success, there's still concerns there, but at least they're making do. Those are the things, to me, at least, Scott, that give me hope. Dan, again, with another super chat. We still have to play the games. 2020, we had the bench. We do again. Those are the things, to me, Scott, that give me the most optimism.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to everything you just said, and fans, we saw last year, it didn't look like a cakewalk. Like, you have to play the games, just like you said, Dan. But going into the postseason, it's all about just giving your offense a chance. It's having chances. It's making the most of the opportunities. And each game again, that first round series against the Diamondbacks, the offense was playing from behind immediately. Yeah. So it's about giving your offense and giving your team chances. And I feel that they have put themselves in such a spot that they're going to have these chances to win games, and they're going to be in spots where, yes, they can have the first punch, they can get the first blow, and they are setting themselves up there. So what you said about, not much can set you up, but I sure like the roster construction of actually having a competent starting rotation heading into the postseason. And it's all about right now and showing faith and, showing the ability to go deep into games, because they're going to know what it feels like and know what it's like to really have that, get that run support. Having Gavin Stone coming into the game, getting almost, I think it's like 4.87. And now he comes in and gets this tonight. You're able to showcase your stuff. You're able to work on things. So They have 3 starting pitchers right now that I feel confident in big time, like James Paxton, and he's on the fringe. And once we get Bobby Miller back, it's just furthering that. It's just about giving yourself chances. I really like what I'm seeing from them, and they're just playing complementary ball. And that bodes well. That's projection. Like that'll allow you to look forward and continue to look ahead. That if they keep these things going, that I think that in close games, these are things that I can kind of lean on, that they're going to give themselves enough chances to have a swing where they're not so far behind that they're not going to waste these spots away.
Yeah, and look, it helps that they're already building a 7.5 game lead in the division, so you're hopeful that lead grows and grows and grows to the point where you don't have to kill yourself trying to win the division or get the best record in the National League or something. Let's shift. We're going to start taking questions. If you want to throw something in the chat, all caps questions, and then your question after, we'll take those. One note tomorrow, Scott, there's some quotes from Dave Roberts about the bullpen game tomorrow. He said they're going to talk through potentially adding a fresh arm for the bullpen game. He said it is going to be a bullpen game. There might be an impending move or two. Shout out to Eric Steven. He put out a chart of guys when they have last pitched. So Ryan Yarbrough hasn't pitched since Sunday. He only threw 2/3 of an inning then. So you've got to imagine he's going to kind of be the bulk guy. Alex Vesia, 3 pitches on Monday night, didn't pitch today. Michael Grove, 10 pitches on Monday. That's his only appearance since last Friday. So I would imagine that between Yarbrough, Grove, those 2 guys probably going to take down. They're probably hoping to get 6 innings at least. And then you've got Vesia, who had a day off, Trinan, who had a day off, Hudson, who had a day off today. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like JP Fireeisen, even though he's put out some good performances, back-to-back appearances, maybe he's the guy that's optioned, Scott, do you think? Or do they try and pass Chris Matt through waivers? Like I guess Gus Varland would be the other guy. Who do you think would be the move down if they wanted to call up a Nick Ramirez or somebody like that to give them some length tomorrow?
I could see Chris Matt being DFA'd. I could see that. That's something I could definitely see. Appreciate the inning tonight. Thank you for your service. And maybe my fan club, stops right there. But yeah, just like optionality, they have it. They have the ability to do some things there. I saw somebody mention about Landon Knack. Where's he at? He's in AAA right now. He's doing fine. He just had an outing, I think 2 days ago. Gave up a couple 4 earned runs. I'm pretty sure I saw, but he's just out there just getting his innings in. But yeah, I think Chris Matt could be the easy one to DFA there.
Yeah, and I'm sure people are wondering, well, what about Landon Knack just coming up and making a start? But I think to your point, I think his last appearance
just pitched.
Didn't line up. May 12th. May 12th was his last appearance, 5 1/3. So nothing there. Hawaiian Kira, another super chat. She goes, it's early, very early, but we appreciate the question. Who's going to be your Mr. October? Scott, I feel like your guy is a nice looking candidate for this.
Teoscar, baby.
Yeah.
That's mine. Yeah. Teoscar, I know. Ohtani, I know. I got to be different. It's like anybody but Ohtani. Because guys who will punish mistakes. That's it. Don't miss a mistake. I've seen Freddie swing through, center cut balls this year. Mookie, I don't expect him to really be that guy to really slug stuff. He's really going to be trying to get on base a ton. I feel like he's tapping into a different part of his game. But I think Teoscar, man, shut up, Blake, Chris Taylor, stop. Don't do this. No. Teoscar. Teoscar Hive is here.
If we're taking the obvious guys' names off of the list, I would say like Will Smith, Max Muncy are both guys that have come up big.
Man.
They've come up big in spots before. Will Smith just feels consistent, feels like the pulse is low. I get, Ora was talking about the beating that catchers take and how that can wear guys down over the course of the season. So that kind of scared me a little bit, but there's a couple choices.
Will Smith, though, man, can we real fast? I know I just hate to do that, but Will Smith, dude, like, anything you want to get off your chest about him, chat about him, please? I need to hear something.
He is who he is, man. I mean, like, this is just the thing about him that's beautiful is just what he does. Like, it's what is it? Piss missiles everywhere, just liners, just ropes wherever he wants it. Like that ball he hit over the guy's head in dead center last night. Like, that guy wasn't that far from the wall. He hit that ball so hard on a line. How he dropped that over his head and in front of the wall is insane to me. Yeah. So he just never looks rattled. He never looks concerned. At times that feels like you want a little bit more out of him, but all he does is hit line drives, Scott. All he does is hit line drives.
Development of his game, Jeff. We've been talking about it. It's just he took a step. He's taken that step. But so I would say for me, Teoscar 1, Will Smith 2, But remember, if you watch this back, this is not counting Shohei Ohtani. I'm not going to do that.
Let's see some other question. We got some funny ones. We got somebody asking about 2025 rotations. Like, I love that. I'm here for that, but not on May 14th. So we'll save that one. We got tons of content. Here we go. I mean, this is Aaron Vaughn, Miggy V. I mean, the Gavin Lux stock up is not. It's bad news for the Miguel Vargas hive, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think Miguel Vargas. I mean, well, Gavin Lux. I don't think it's bad news. Like they're different spots. I think that.
We were joking. Blake was joking on Sunday that maybe Miguel Vargas goes back to second base at some point if Gavin Lux couldn't hit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But to everybody, I mean, if you don't know what Miguel Vargas is doing, if you haven't been keeping tabs, like he's got a 147 WRC plus in AAA. Like he's doing all the things that he needs to do down in AAA to really warrant it. And he's not playing the infield, guys. He's playing left field. He's doing, really good stuff there. 426 on base. Like he definitely is in like deserving of a call up. We could see it if James Option Man like decides that, they just decide it's time for him to get sent back down, or they just, Andy Pajes might need a breather. I don't know what it is, but Miguel Vargas is definitely doing everything that he needs to keep his name right at the top. That if they think, if he's ready to go, they could he's swinging a hot bat. It's not like he's in a slump or anything. He's swinging a hot bat. If they want to bring him up for some reinforcements, he's definitely someone who's continued to do his thing down there. He's doing exactly what the organization is asking of him. Switch positions, find a corner outfield spot, something that they do need. They have needed. And if there's something that goes on with Chris Taylor, I don't think that'll be the case, but I think James Outman will need a breather at some point, and Miguel Vargas can come up and supplement the roster. So yes, I really do think. When do I think that? I think it could be fairly soon because they're going to have to make a decision here on James Outman because he just looks pretty damn lost.
Yeah.
But Jason Heyward coming back does kind of cloud that a bit. So TBD, it'll have to be. I don't know if they make two moves out there. You know what I mean? So it might push that down the line. It would need to be an
injury. It would need to be an injury because they're not going to cut Chris Taylor or Kike Hernandez, who are the only guys that the roster. You need the roster spots. Outman's roster spot, I think, is going to be a hard one to give up, but it's going to be given up when Heyward comes back. Finding a second roster spot for a guy like Vargas, I think, is tougher. Dan with another super chat. Dan, we appreciate the generosity. We appreciate you being with us tonight. He said, who's the early season MVP? Scott, I was looking this up. You've got some choices because the Dodgers currently have the number 1 and number 3 player in Major League Baseball in wins above replacement. That was before both of those guys had multiple extra base hits on their stat line tonight. You've got Will Smith, 22nd in wins above replacement. Max Muncy's down there in 30th in wins above replacement. We know Teoscar Hernandez is 5th in runs batted in Major League Baseball this year. You could go pitching wise. You could go Glasnow, who looks like an ace. So where do you want to go with this early season MVP for the Dodgers?
It's kind of got to be Ohtani, right? I think it has to be. I think his WRC plus is like north of 200. It kind of feels like that. Ohtani's cooled off. Ohtani's done nothing but heat up. And he's been great since the beginning of the season. Everybody, like, the conversation about him with runners in scoring position was a thing for a blip. And then he said, hold my beer. And here we go. So he's done nothing but improve and show exactly who he is. So you can go a few different ways. If you want to just be fun and take Tyler Glasnow for stabilizing the rotation, then that could be a thing. If you want to take Yamamoto, cool. If you want to take the pair of them, whatever. But I'm going to say Ohtani just because it just feels like he's doing something extraordinary every day. Yeah. Maybe that's just, brand new car value. And that's just where I'm sitting at it. But he's living up to that hype. He's doing exactly what it is. And he's pushing it along. And just like we saw tonight, he's showing something every single day that makes you go, holy man, like what are we? Where was this guy? Like, how was he in Anaheim for this long?
Yeah, I think it's Ohtani or Mookie Betts. I mean, obviously the case for Mookie, the reason he's higher in wins above replacement is because he's playing the field. And I think the fact that he's playing shortstop and he's playing it competently is probably the argument. From an offensive perspective, Mookie Betts is, I believe, 2nd in weighted runs created plus in Major League Baseball, 3rd in weighted runs created plus. Yeah, Ohtani's 1st, so I think it's got to be.
Where I stand on. Where I stand on Mookie. Where I stand on him. Definitely with his play at shortstop there. Absolutely. Crazy. I see people saying James Paxton. What are your thoughts on James Paxton, Jeff? Anything?
What did I ask Blake? I stumped Blake the other day because I asked him if he liked Paxton. Oh, I asked him who he thinks will be better rest of season, Paxton or Buehler. And he was like, he's a big Maple guy and he's a big Bueller's cooked guy. So it stumped him for a second, but I actually think he said he'd take Buehler over Paxton from here on out. I
Wow.
could be
Okay.
wrong. Blake, correct me if somebody in the chat correct me if I'm off on that. But who would you take, Buehler or Paxton, rest of year?
Did he start? Did he asking me? Oh man. Oh, don't do this. It's a tough one because they're right there.
They're
But
so
that, I mean,
similar. The reason I asked was because neither of them are getting a lot of strikeouts. Both of them are kind of like they both
I'm gonna
are
say
sort of
Pax.
they're trying to make do in the same way, kind of, which is,
I
hey, we
agree.
don't
Yeah,
have the stuff we used to have, but we're going to try and pitch through it.
I agree. I agree with Mr. Glass that Buehler needs more time. But Paxton has answered the haters of when he was just walking a ton and giving it up, and he's kind of rebounded there. So, yeah, could go either way, Blake. I mean, it's just, yeah, I think it could be Paxton. I'm gonna say Paxton.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Another super chat here. Ozzy says Dodgers will be ahead by September. How do they prevent Russ with no meaningful games until the playoffs? Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully they blow this thing out. I just feel like with the group they have, the fact that from day one they're going like 6-man rotation, regular days off, that I don't feel like they're going to have to alter things dramatically at the end of the season. That's my read on things, Scott.
This is going to be an answer that I saw someone talk about it earlier, and I know it just sounds like this is kind of a ridiculous thing to say, and it could just be chatter, and it's that they're approaching playoff games like any regular game. But that's one statement I know that Dave made, and I'm kind of mad about it. I don't think it's any other game. I don't know if Dave said it. I think it was Dave. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone, if it is. But I need them to not, like, if they're not playing meaningful games because they're just so far ahead, then I need them to like rise to that occasion. Like, don't come out and say those things. Like, it really needs to be a different mentality. And I know that's just easy for us to say because we're watching it and we're chatting about it and writing about it. But uh, at least what they're projecting outward, in the media, I need them to not say those type of things. I need them to actually and that's where I think we spoke about this in the offseason, that I think Ohtani's mentality and what he showed me in the WBC, I feel like he's going to bring such a different approach, that he's just so focused and he's so intense. And we've seen that from Mookie so far, kind of, that's led off onto him. And I think it's going to be different just based on that. I don't have anything to it. That's just me just being hopeful or just, shooting it. But I think that Ohtani really brings a certain edge to it, and Glass now and Yamamoto, and they're just very stoic. But Ohtani's energy in the WBC really showed me a ton. And I think that in the spots that we've seen him have a big swing, that's stuff that we just really haven't seen. We don't see that much emotion from Mookie. We don't see that from Freddie. And I think that Ohtani's insertion into that is such a big deal. And I think he can be, I know somebody says that rah-rah guy, but I think Ohtani can really be that pillar for him.
The irony is, like, that's exactly what people said about Mookie Betts in 2020, right? He's the guy who got up before the World Series season and gave the speech at spring training. He's the guy that, is hitting the home run, and he's got the iconic leaning back, running around first base, the screaming his head off as he makes those plays at right field. So I think there is something to just getting fresh blood, a guy who hasn't won it yet, a guy who hasn't been there, hasn't been through the wars, that has kind of that youthful exuberance, not youthful, but like almost the naivety of like, well, nobody has told me I can't do this before. So why would I start to believe today that this isn't going to happen? I think injecting new life in the names that you mentioned, I think, can help for that reason.
This is a topic that we can talk about all year. Roberts is, Kira says that Ohtani's not a rah-rah guy, but it's just because of his status, because of, the caliber of player he is and who he is and what he can do on a baseball field. I think the fact that he hasn't played in a postseason game, and we saw what he did in the WBC, I think there's so much there. And I think that's such a low hanging fruit thing to say. And it is, but we just haven't seen it yet. So, we have to kind of wait and see what he does. So I'm just super excited. I'm just super excited to see how he performs there and the energy that he'll bring. And just exactly what I said. I think it'll bleed off onto the rest of the guys because he's such a focused individual.
Yeah.
And I think that matters so much. And that's just, let's just say that it's been, and we've been talking about it, that it'll be that missing link to the postseason fire that they've kind of lacked.
Yeah. Dan answering his own question. He says Teoscar Hernandez because the plan was to have him platoon with Heyward. And I think if you wanted, the case for Teoscar is obviously not that he's better than Ohtani, but the upgrade of that number 5, number 6 spot in the lineup. Like you kind of Mookie was, you know what to expect from Mookie. You know what to expect from Shohei, from Freddie, from Will Smith, even to some degree from Max Muncy. I think Teoscar is kind of the newcomer where you've upgraded the Jason Heyward spot, who was fine last year, to a guy who's top 5 in Major League Baseball in RBI. So, Dan, we appreciate the super chat. Scott, let's end with like 4 or 5 rapid fire ones here. Cheesecake, is there any chance Ohtani pitches this year? No chance he will pitch this year. Pizza in the box. Jeff, remind us where you got the great t-shirt. Homage, Homage. They make awesome stuff. So check them out. But that's where I got this shirt and a couple others. Hallelujah. Scott, does Freddie need a day off? He looks more lost, doesn't scream consistent as much. They joked on the broadcast that this is what mad Freddie Freeman looks like. Does he need a day off?
I don't think so. I think that he doesn't like that. That's just not in his thing. Maybe if they do, then David kind of has to just scream at him, tell him you're not playing. But I think Freddie that's his thing. He likes playing. I think he reps are where he lives. And I think that's what keeps him right, is staying out there every day.
Okay. David wants to know, 44 games in, who's the biggest threat in the National League? You got the Phillies at 30-13.
Yeah.
They've got the best record, obviously. The Braves 26-13, 2 games back of the Phillies. The Brewers, I don't think any of us are super threatened by the Brewers. So Phillies or Braves, who are you more threatened by right now?
I'd for sure say the Phillies.
Okay.
I would absolutely say the Phillies. Their starting rotation is the real deal. They're playing complimentary baseball, 2.65 ERA from their starters. They've just been terrific stuff. They get length, they get quality, and that's stuff that's really difficult to match. So I would definitely say the Phillies.
This is an interesting stat. The Phillies have only played 3 games against teams with winning records this season.
It's going to be tested.
The Braves are at 19 for context. So the Braves have played 19 games against teams with a record above 500. Phillies 1-2. That's always slightly misleading because when you're 30-13, you're going to be handing losses to some of these teams. But I think it probably does speak to maybe we got to see what the Phillies do against. I probably would. It's going to be the Braves. It's kind of like until somebody takes that belt, I would go with the Braves. Hawaiian Kira, will the Dodgers have the most All-Stars this year? I go down the list. I admittedly don't look at like the Phillies or Braves roster nearly as much, but I just go down the list, Scott, and it's like Mookie's going to be an all-star. Ohtani's going to be an all-star. Will Smith is going to be an all-star. Glasnow is going to be an all-star. Like those 4 guys are locks. I think Teoscar, you could make a case for. Yamamoto, you could make a case for. And Muncy has been really good. I mean, like you could just make a case for like all of a sudden you're at 7 guys, 8 guys. Not all those are going to be all-stars, but my answer here is yes. I don't know which of those 8 gets left off, but I don't see how another team could have more.
Yeah, man, they're gonna be loaded, and we're gonna see a year where it's like the Texas Rangers, where it just feels like they have everybody up there. Yeah. It's gonna be some. I think Dodger fans are gonna stuff the ballot boxes here. That's gonna be crazy.
That's the other piece. Nomo Splitter. Jeff, would you be upset if Barnes becomes Yamamoto's personal catcher? Looks, Barnes has to play. Yes, I'll be upset. I'll be upset every time he plays, even though intellectually I know he has to. But he can't become Yamamoto's guy because when Kershaw comes back, he has to be Kershaw's guy, I think. So he can't be 2 different pitchers, designated catcher. That's not allowed. Here we go. Last one, and this is right up your alley, Scott. Ozzy, a super chat. The City Connect jersey. We posted a video this morning discussing. It has not been confirmed. There are signs. UniWatch, Paul Lucas went on and talked about there's a thing or 2 on there that makes him believe that these really are the City Connect jerseys. It kind of fits with the City Connect vibe and level of expectation. Scott, the floor is yours.
Those things sucked. There's nothing about them. If you haven't seen the City Connect, the Pop-Tart thread, oh my God. Like I don't understand how they could be so tone deaf and they don't just they don't just look around like for any fan concept art. Like I tweeted the one out from a Reddit user from I think last year, it might've been a couple years ago. I just don't understand. Like how can the Rays have such fire uniforms and the Dodgers they could just have something that looks so ridiculous. Like right when the City Connects, the first ones came out, they just looked just super mediocre, very just no brain power there. Same thing, no brain power. What are we doing? Like you want something fun, you take away Players Weekend. It's just like you take away the nicknames. Like now you just force these down our throats. I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't buy one if it's 50% off. I don't care if it, like, I'm an Instagram ad guy. Like, you toss something my way that I might buy on my Instagram feed, I'm buying it. If they threw me at me and it's 80% off, I'm not even thinking about it. Like, no chance. Like, those things look terrible. Like, you're not going to find anybody that says these are good. Like,
Yeah,
you're probably going to find someone some mom on a Facebook marketplace that's like, yeah, I got to buy this for my nephew. Like, it's just, these things are terrible. It's brutal. Like,
yeah.
what are we doing?
I've said it, and this part, like, everybody doesn't like these. I seem to not like them for a different reason than everybody else.
What is
I've
it?
said before, I don't like the D logo. Like, just
Oh
stick with
yeah, it
the
looks
LA.
like, come on, yeah, right up Blake's alley. It looks like a Disneyland logo.
Yeah. So it's just like they've got the D and the LA all in one thing on the sleeve. Like, I'm just like, and my question to Daniel Scott was this. I think the City Connect jerseys suck, like, across the board. Like, what is the Mets that basically got jerseys that look like Yankees jerseys and they just turned them into Mets jerseys? They're like black and gray with pinstripes. It's hilarious. But, like, I feel like it's harder for the Dodgers because of how iconic their normal jerseys are. Like, the Padres having a City Connect jersey or the Diamondbacks having a City Connect jersey that's like bizarre or off the wall kind of fits because their normal stuff is constantly changing and is constantly, like, experimenting with different colors and all that kind of thing. So I feel like part of the reason I hate it is because it's just not the traditional Dodgers jersey. And if it's not a traditional, like, I didn't like the blue jerseys, like, unless it's white or gray and says Dodgers across the front, I'm probably not going to like it. So I think that's part of my deal, is just that I have a much narrower, like, things I will tolerate when it comes to Dodgers jerseys.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that. I understand that take, but if, like, they're going to do this, why don't you? I'm not saying I like the full blown baby blues, like, but, like, incorporate something, with baby blue. Like, it's so appealing. Like, I don't know who are they going to do this? I feel terrible for
Yeah.
the person that, like, designed this and they just go online and see it just getting absolutely peppered. And they're just like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? But hey, they're like, hey, I know. Dodgers uniforms. Let's throw some sprinkles on them.
Yeah. The Pop-Tart, the person who put the picture of the strawberry Pop-Tart right next to it was just, it's like so perfect and on the nose that it's hard to top. So yeah, those are our thoughts. If you want
Crazy.
Daniel Starkin's thoughts, check out Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. We posted a video this morning kind of breaking it down. So again, not confirmed, the City Connect jerseys, but not denied either. It doesn't sound like by Major League Baseball, the Dodgers, anybody else. So folks, that'll do it for us tonight. Nearly 2,000. I was looking at the number to see if we were going to get above 2,000 people. We're just under 2,000. Thank you so much for joining us again. The Dodgers win their 17th game in their last 21. All 21, they've allowed 4 or fewer runs. They beat the Giants 10-2. They go for a sweep tomorrow with a bullpen game. Ryan Yarbrough special on tap tomorrow. So go ahead and check that one out. It's a night game again, so not one of these getaway day games. Dodgers bullpen game at night. As always, DodgerBlue.com. We'll have a recap, all sorts of stuff. You can find Scott, you can find Sebastian, Blake, people writing over there. So go ahead and check that out as well. We appreciate you joining us. Enjoy the rest of your night. Oh, and shout out, by the way, to Hatchet Books. Hatchet Books gave us some copies of Clayton Kershaw's The Last of His Kind, written by Andy McCullough, about Clayton Kershaw, his time with the Dodgers, his life. It's an incredible book. Thank you to them. They gave us 10 to give away. We gave them out on social media, on our live shows. If you haven't yet, go order a copy. It's fantastic. You will not be disappointed. Also, shout out to So Rare MLB. We've been talking a lot about them on our shows over the last couple of weeks. You're going to keep hearing about it. They are supporters of this show. And I know Blake and I joke, we were not familiar with it prior to the sponsorship. But now that we're in it, we actually find ourselves enjoying it, checking our teams. Blake's putting real money in and buying cards. So go ahead, join So Rare MLB. We've got a link below. We've got a link to the book as well. So go ahead and check that stuff out. We appreciate those folks for supporting us. That is Scott Geirman. I am Jeff Spiegel. Enjoy your night, everybody, and go Dodgers.